Cool,
What's going
man.
on?
So I wanted to ask you a few questions. Obviously, you had joined our AI operator program. And before we got started working together, what was going on in your business? What were some of the struggles or what were you frustrated by? That'd be super helpful.
Yeah, 100%. So, being the head of sales in the position that I'm in, there's just so many different aspects that you have to be across. Now, I think like we all know and can see like the looming need and demand for AI. So before kind of reaching out to you and getting in touch with you was this thing that I knew that I needed to do. And like many people, I kind of tried to, go into it on my own and basically just got overwhelmed, like, and you kind of come out like worse off than going into it,
Yeah.
right? So it's this thing that I knew I needed to get. You have that constant like fear of missing out, but then it's
Yeah.
like you get exposed to it, and suddenly it's just overwhelming. You're like, oh shit, I can't do any of this. So
Yep.
yeah, it was something I knew I needed to learn. I just didn't have the right vehicle or the person to help me do so.
Yeah. I love that. Now, when you first considered working with us, what hesitations or doubts kind of came up? Like, was there anything that almost stopped you from moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest fear that most people would have is like, I'm a salesperson, right? But it's like, whether I could learn to do this, like whether I could learn to do it myself. But it's one of those things where like now that I have the skill set and the tool set, um, there's so many different variations and things that you can like expand on now that I have the foundational skills, right? So at first it was kind of like, oh, can I learn this? Like that's the biggest fear. And then just like anything, you just got to kind of get in there and get exposed to it, and you realize like, okay, like I can learn this. So can anyone. Um, and then the other thing that I kind of questioned was like, look, do I learn this myself or do I get just someone else in? But I think having a depth of understanding in anything um, is super important, even if you do look at for someone external, whatever it is. So like now that I have that skill set in my back pocket, still got much more to learn. But it's been invaluable because now we can just do like little variations and slight differences, and it's just like I'm only limited now by what I can possibly think of, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Part of the program obviously was to help generate and, create creativity inside of the process. One of the biggest things I see with operators is we're kind of limited by what we can actually do. Like we have all this technical capability, but it's very difficult to actually be creative enough to come up with alternative solutions, especially as we have new solutions to problems that we couldn't necessarily solve before. Um, so I guess what made you move forward anyways? Like what kind of tipped the scale as you were going through that decision making process?
yeah. I think it's one of those things. Like we look at AI in general, and it's like, okay, like it's not going anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's either like you learn it or like you get left behind. So I was like, look, it's gonna be something that I'm gonna learn. I would rather be on the front of it and like be, you know, leading the industry, so to speak. So that, it's something that I feel like it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like I needed to learn it to obviously be able to keep the business that we are in at the front. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Now, once we actually got started, what was the experience like for you and your team?
Yeah. So the first couple weeks, it was like the ramp up, it was like the foundational like understandings. I think like the way that you conceptualize just like problem solving in general, like obviously it's super important to be able to build out automations and figure out what workflows you want. And, obviously I have that, but like the way that you were able to conceptualize that alone actually just like that helped me outside of AI, firstly, right?
Yeah.
And then besides that, like, I mean, even still to this point, like I was saying before, now that the kind of foundations are there, you can just have these little add-ons and almost like these little attachments that are just like bolted onto the sides. And those alone are worth so much. Like I still have now where I'll speak to other business owners and people in my network, and I'm like, just explaining this thing that I would have created. Like me and you sat down and kind of built together in like, I don't know, 30 minutes. Um, and they're like, what? I can't believe that it's like it's something that we have now. Um, so yeah, like yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
I love that, man. Um, what results, if any, have you seen since then? Maybe you can share like one or two examples that really stand out. I know you mentioned one earlier about Brooke and the content piece. But yeah,
Yeah. So basically, like one of the main workflows that we've built together is reviewing like every single sales call. So if there's any, sales managers out there, that's basically like an entire full-time job. So having like every call reviewed and analyzed through the AI gives you not only the call review itself, but it gives you so much access to data. So two that we've done off the back of that was so one is like direct objective feedback for marketing, which is phenomenal. So now every single call gets broken down like objectively rather than subjectively, gets fed across to the marketing team, like biggest objections, where they were on the bias circle, like how aware they were, everything. So that gets fed
yeah,
to marketing. So that's crazy. And then the other one, which is the one that we kind of created as it was like an afterthought almost. Basically every call gets run through another agent that creates like little hooks, little viral hooks that gets fed to like our influencer, which is Brooke. And she just can sit there just like producing, just pumping out content that's super relevant to the conversations that the team are actually having. So like it's just an endless amount of content ideas that are super relevant. And she did one, the first one she did has been like one of her biggest like engagement posts that she's done. So like proof of concept as well. It's not just a nice to have.
yeah. No, that's amazing, and the cool part is, I had mentioned earlier, when you mentioned that, ultimately the concept of content creation is very difficult a lot of times, but when you have real like live feedback of exactly what is being shared on these calls and conversations, a lot of times your sales reps are the front line, if you will, and the amount of information that we can actually get out of them is so valuable. And the fact that, like you said, you can start tacking on new agents, you can start being creative and coming up with new ways to do this. Yeah, it's a game changer. So that's amazing. Um, what would you say is your favorite part about working with us so far?
Um, I'd say like how accessible you are. I mean, like, to say that you've gone above and beyond is probably an understatement. I mean, we've had an advantage of you kind of like coming to Bali, where I live as well, just for a holiday.
Yeah,
So, that's helped. We've been able to work kind of in person, which is really good. But besides that, it's like, any issues, concerns that we've had, like if we haven't gone through it immediately on our sessions together, it's like you'll still, you've gone above and beyond and sorted it out on the back end, and then you'll provide information as to why. So there's that, but also like even the aspects of like homework as well. Like I had some homework to get through in the
yeah,
first couple sessions, which obviously made sure I did my homework and was prepared, which was good. But it's like, it's one thing to like work alongside, but then it's another thing to kind of like have the homework or even like little projects that you think of that you go and tackle yourself. Like I had one example a few weeks ago, right, with like reviewing each of every meeting essentially that I do for content creation for myself, just to like kind of
yeah.
conceptualize everything. Um, and being able to bring that in and for you to be like, sweet, like this is also another way that you could do it. I'm like, oh, hadn't even thought about that. So it's yeah, it's been really enjoyable. Like coming back to the sessions, like after kind of like going off and exploring new things and then kind of getting it like recalibrated in our sessions has been wicked.
Amazing, man. One last question for you. If someone was sitting where you were, considering working with us, but unsure, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I guess it's it's the same thing that I kind of overcame, right? It's like AI is not going anywhere. It really isn't. So
Yeah,
like either it's something that you can learn and have a deep understanding about, or even just like a general understanding and a good awareness of it, so that you can like it's not just gonna like you're not gonna get left behind. That's the kind of the biggest one. It's here to stay. Even just having an understanding of what's going on is super powerful. Whether you do decide to do it all yourself, like me, or whether you have someone external, you still need to be able to understand the capabilities and what's possible. Because otherwise, you're not going to know that. Um, and secondly, it's like it's not just going to go away. The amount of value that you can get out of a simple automation as well. Um, reviewing every single sales call for a team of 10 people that are taking, 5 to 6 calls a day. It's like 50 to 60 hours
Yeah.
to review every single call. It's like you would not be able to do anything else but that. So being able to have that running on autopilot and then being able to review the analysis and find the key points to work on and train the team on that, like the amount of hours that they saved me, I cannot explain it.
Yeah.
You just do the
Amazing.
math on it and you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, or like the opposite of the math. It's one of the reasons like we built this specific agent was like the fact of people don't realize how few calls that they're actually analyzing. And as a sales leader, hearing what is actually being said is, in my opinion, the greatest needle mover essentially that we can do. A lot of sales managers end up working on things that are not that, thinking it's going to move the needle. But at the end of the day, it's what kind of conversations are we having on the front lines with these kind of people, and how effectively can we, get the feedback, coach them, and move them through that training process, to ramp up process, etc. So, amazing, man. Well, I'm glad you got a ton of value so far, and we'll keep running it up. And I appreciate you being a part and taking the jump and learning along the way. It's been great to see your growth as you've kind of gone through this. And just I actually said something today on our meeting where I was like, man, like, like it's completely different from our first few meetings. And that's really cool to see. And hopefully we sparked some good creativity, and you can continue to grow this skill set. So
100%, man. Thank you. It's it feels like Pandora's box has almost been opened a bit.
yeah.
What do
Yeah,
we
you won't be able to sleep at night here soon.
Yeah, I
So
feel like I'm already at that point. Nah, it's been wicked, man.
uh,
Thank you very much.
cheers.